I love the Stanford Golf Course. That's why in 2010, when Golf Week magazine came out with their rankings for college golf courses and put Stanford at number 5, I couldn't believe it. How could there be four better college golf courses than Stanford? That ranking committee must have been on some kind of hallucinogen or something. So I thought I better check these out. I'm going to go and play some of these courses. I started at number 1 Yale. I figured if Yale was better than Stanford, then maybe this magazine knows what they're talking about. Well, Yale actually was a fabulous golf course, built in the 30s, a little more hilly, a little more challenging than Stanford. And I will have to say, Yale is actually a better college golf course than Stanford. I'm going to put Stanford at number 2 and Yale at number 1. Then I went to play some courses in the South. I really liked the Duke course, probably ranking around number 10, but I really liked their pub. So I started a tradition of visiting the best local pub I could find and finding their best beer. So at Duke, I would say beer recommended after this course would be Old Speckled Hen at the Duke pub. Now I started another custom at Duke, and that was to visit the campus and take photographs of the campus. So I went to the hotel clerk and I said, I'm going to go visit the campus. Tell me the places that I really should see while I'm here. And he said, well, you should see the chapel, you should see the quad, you should see the law school, and you should see, of course, the basketball pavilion. And I said to him, oh, do they play basketball at Duke? And he just gave me a blank stare. He didn't know if I was a complete idiot or a smartass. Now, all of you, of course, know the answer to that question. Then I went to the West Coast, started playing some golf out there. My wife and I were planning a trip to Tahoe to play golf one weekend. And I said to my wife, as long as we're going to be that far from home, why not stop by Pullman and play Washington State? Now, most people would say, you asked your wife that? She must have thought you were an idiot. But I had some inside information, and that was that my wife is collecting national parks, and the only park in the West she didn't have was North Cascades National Park in Washington. So she agreed. We drove an extra 1,200 miles to play Washington State and to see North Cascades National Park. Now you've noticed I've skipped the flyover states. And we all know now that you can't ignore the flyover states without some significant consequences. So I had to go to the flyover states and play those courses too. I started out with the Great Plains, or as I call them, the Great Pains, because the golf courses are so far apart. And I asked my golf buddies, would you like to go on this great golf trip with me? We fly to the Great Plains, we drive about 700 miles, we might get a chance to see a tornado, and we can play 3 pretty good golf courses if we don't get rained out. Well, they said, we're busy, when are you going? I did finally get one guy to go with me, and we made this trip, and the downside of the trip was the drive from Oklahoma City to Lubbock. Worst drive in the country. In fact, I did a little research on this. I looked into who's developing self-driving cars. It turns out every single person that's working on those projects has driven through West Texas. Now, do you think that's a coincidence? I don't think so. My last section of the country was the Midwest. My cousin and I played 4 courses there. We played the Notre Dame, the Michigan, the Purdue, and Ohio State. My favorite course was at Purdue. That's just a coincidence that happens to be where my wife went to college. Pete Dye course with beautiful design using sand, railroad ties, and the whole bit. Very nice golf course. My cousin and I teed off on the 18th hole. We got to our golf balls in the middle of the fairway, and the lightning siren went off. Everybody else started heading towards the clubhouse. But I said to my cousin, you know, after playing 449 and a half holes of the 450 of this ordeal, I'm not stopping, I'm playing through. Well, he agreed. So we played out the hole. When the last putt dropped, there was a huge clap of thunder. Rain came down in sheets. We ran as fast as we could to our car, getting soaking wet all the way, laughing like little kids. But that was a fitting climax to playing the top 25 college golf courses.